Bruce Farrell in.
Your home for Hannity each afternoon at 3 p.m. Talk 96.3 and 103.7. Welcome in to News and Views with Tom Lamprecht. The stories you've heard and the ones you need to hear.
It's been a very interesting journey. I learned a lot about COVID.
He's in good spirits. He's feeling great.
The president was doing well with only mild symptoms.
We need to have trust. We have to trust that what they're telling us about the president's condition is real.
And it's real. We have been told, beware the fall.
Your life, your values, your voice. This is News and Views with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
All right, welcome in. It's News and Views, Tom Lamprecht, Vinny Hardy, and we're going to be joined in a little bit she's joining us, Mercedes Schlapp, who's going to give us hopefully some inside information on how the president is doing. He tweeted earlier today that he was going to be checking out and going back to the White House at 6:30 this evening. We'll ask Mercedes about that. Over the weekend, I tell you, I got so irritated at the media. Benny and I were talking before we went on the air. Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday. I'm really liking Maria Bartiromo a lot more. She does the Sunday Morning Futures. She is a solid conservative. Chris Wallace is going off the deep end. I used to like Chris. I used to think, I realized he was probably center, but I thought he did a fair job. The job he did on Sunday was deplorable. And all the media is questioning these doctors as if the doctors that are watching out for the president, as if they're a bunch of liars, that they're out to deceive the media, that Trump has got he's on death's door, and they keep probing and acting and wanting to get more information. I looked at my wife this weekend and I said, I wish they would ask a tenth of the questions about Joe Biden's, the reporters. Would you be this interested in Joe Biden's cognitive abilities? Could you ask just a question every now and then about his cognitive abilities? Because they're obviously impaired. Obviously impaired. And even people on his side of the aisle know this. They never ask.
I thought it was funny over the weekend listening to the reporters when they had the various medical press conferences. They questioned these guys on medical issues that their resumes are unbelievable. And they questioned on the treatment of the president, and I just could not get over it. But honestly, I was just wondering, I think it was Friday. Maybe it was Friday that Martin Meadows, when he made the statement that he did, I think that got everybody. I think he probably might be in President Trump's doghouse after making that statement. I just think it was poor choice of words for him, and I think for somebody in his role is that, hey, I'm not a doctor, I'm the chief of staff, so I'll let the White House physician answer any medical questions. But I bet he won't be answering any more medical questions.
The other issue too, though, was the president getting in the SUV and driving out and waving to the supporters that were out there really holding a vigil for the president. And all the media, this is so irresponsible. How dare he? They're going to put these people in harm's way. These poor Secret Service guys are not going to catch COVID. Did anybody bother asking, did you try to find a couple of Secret Service guys who have already had COVID and now they're immune?
Yeah.
The other issue, too, though, is don't these guys, when they sign up, aren't they ready to take a bullet for the president?
Yeah.
And yet they're getting in a car. And did anybody say, is there any kind of plexiglass between the front seat and the back seat? They had masks on. But here's the other thing. Do you think it was just about waving to the people out in the parking lot that was surrounded? I mean, was what the president did, was he not signaling to the world that, hey, I'm okay? Allies, don't worry, I'm here, everything's going to be fine. Enemies, beware, don't try any hanky-panky, because I'm up and I'm about and I'm still at work. I might be at Walter Reed, but I'm still at work. So would you please he's putting the world on notice. I'm okay. Now, whether or not he was 100%, I doubt if he was. I mean, he couldn't have been. But yet he was saying, I'm still in charge. I'm okay. Rest assured, things in the United States are still operating. But these morons in the media can't think that far.
And of course, there's a lot of factors that go into the world markets. But look at the world markets today. I mean, they were
up big time.
Up 1.5%, 2%. Over Nasdaq was over 2%, I believe, finished up. So
Benny and I were talking along with our producer Clark Willis before we went on the air. The polling, and somebody made the comment. Oh, they were worried about the polling in North Carolina, how the vote was going to turn out in North Carolina. And I made the comment, well, there's one race you don't have to worry about. That's the race between Thom Tillis and Cal Cunningham. Not good news over the weekend for Cal Cunningham. We actually had this, our producer, Clark Willis, found this story for us on Friday, and we couldn't verify it. I think Henry Hinton actually came out with this story Friday morning, but I couldn't verify it other than the one website entitled nationalfile.com. And they came out and talked about this affair that Cal Cunningham was having with Arlene Guzman Todd. And so I decided, until we can verify it with a second site or a second publication, I wasn't going to bring it out. Well, now Cal Cunningham admits to sexting with Arlene Guzman Todd. And now, according to the nationalfile.com, there is a second woman that he has been at least talking about doing the horizontal shuffle, whether he has actually participated in that dance or not.
Isn't that special?
North Carolina-based lawyer Erin Brinkman stated on Facebook that her friend has been having an affair with married Democrat and North Carolina Senate candidate Cal Cunningham. So apparently has been, according to Brinkman, they have been doing it. The friend was devastated upon finding out that Cunningham is involved in a romantic relationship with another woman, the wife of U.S. Army veteran Arlene Guzman Todd. So, I mean, apparently she wasn't upset that she was cheating on, she and Cunningham were cheating on Cunningham's wife, but now she's upset because there's a third woman in the circle. Brinkman, a criminal justice lawyer who graduated from Harvard and spent time in North Carolina, says she's a good friend and has been having an affair with Cunningham since 2012. The irony of this is Cunningham is trying to run this race based upon, hey, I'm an Army vet, clean cut, family guy. And apparently he's not quite the guy that he wants you to think he is. But he's come out and said, yeah, we've been having this sexting thing.
So apparently Miss Brinkman's friend, I guess she doesn't mind being the other woman, but not one of the other women, I guess.
Yeah. And my wife said this was going to happen. Where is it? Here in the article, and the News and Observer is reporting on this, although they haven't reported on the second woman yet, but when he came out and admitted he was having this relationship with Arlene Guzman Todd, who, again, is married to an Army vet, Cunningham came out. It's the only public comment that Cunningham or his campaign have made about the issue. In his statement, he said, I ask that my privacy be respected in this personal matter. A personal matter, I should say. My wife and I were talking this weekend, and she predicted that this was going to come out, and it always does. Oh, this is so sensitive. Please protect my privacy. Here's the thing, Cunningham. First of all, it's no longer a personal matter. Ask this woman's husband, ask Mr. Todd, if he's going to respect your privacy. Did you respect his privacy?
Yeah, I really feel sorry for his family, though, because, it's, when a politician parades his, spouse and kids in advertisements, and it's all, all of his advertisements have them in there and his website, and, now all of a sudden this comes out.
I feel for his kids. I feel for his wife. For you, not so much, Mr. Cunningham. Or how about the 10 million people living in North Carolina? You want them to entrust you in the U.S. Senate, and you can't keep your vows to your wife. But they're not allowed to say anything because you proclaim it as a private matter. You want it to be a private matter, drop out of the race. Drop out of the race, and then I think you have the ability to say, you know what, I blew it. He says, I'm taking responsibility for this. Same thing that Hillary Clinton always says. They always say this. I'm taking full responsibility. What does that mean?
Well, it's a public office. So when it's a public office, private matters, it can be a private matter if it involves your family's health. But if there's something that you've done and admitted to doing, I'm sorry, it's public. It's no longer private, in my opinion.
Is Cunningham still in the National Guard?
I think he's in the reserves.
Reserve?
I think he's still in the reserves.
Okay. Well, can't he be court-martialed for doing this? I think so.
I know for active duty there's some definite rules about that. I don't know about reserves.
It says here in the News and Observer, Cunningham joined the U.S. Army Reserve shortly after 9/11, was deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan, earned a Bronze Star. He said in an October 1st tweet, in the Army, I took on corrupt government contractors. As a senator, I'll bring that same zeal to fighting corruption in Washington. Not a real good line for you to use. I think doing the little dance with somebody else's wife it fits the definition of corruption pretty well.
If his wife and 2 girlfriends can't trust him, why should North Carolina?
Bingo.
Right?
His wife and 2 girlfriends. How many others are out there, Cal? Conscientious Cal. But, this is going to make an interesting, because Cunningham has been neck and neck, basically. I think it's been within the margin of error. Is this enough to get Tillis over the top? I think it probably is, based on the fact that the area that Tillis, as many other Republicans, were hurting in were suburban moms. Mm-hmm. Suburban moms, this is not going to sit real well with them.
And what is Cunningham? He's outspending Tillis by a boatload. 50-60 million he's spent, I think.
From out of state. All from out of state. Unbelievable. Cal Cunningham. Conscientious Cal. You want it to be private? Drop out of the race. We're going to take a timeout. When we get back, we're going to be joined by Mercedes Schlapp. We'll get the latest from the president and how is this whole COVID-19 going to affect the campaign. Stay with us. More news and views coming right up.
GoEco is the office equipment company that people all over eastern North Carolina are turning to for their office copier and equipment needs. GoEco sells and services Canon copiers and office products. They have a great service team that's quick to respond when you need them. We here at Interbanks Media just made the switch to GoEco, and they're saving us money in printing cost. Other businesses in and around Greenville are making the switch too. Dirk's Chiropractic switched over a year ago and saved money. GoEco bought out their existing lease, and Dirk's Chiropractic received better products fitting their needs. In fact, GoEco has saved local clients who have switched over $178,000. Oh, and some businesses might qualify for no payments until 2021. Call Area Sales Director Tom Watkins at GoEco for a free consultation today. 252-227-0581 or email info@goeconc.com. Save money by switching to GoEco.
Karen Kozel is running for North Carolina State Senate because Don Davis sided with Governor Roy Cooper's veto of the 2020 budget. Pitt and Greene counties lost an estimated $430 million annually. Don Davis cost the ECU Medical School 1,700 jobs and an estimated economic impact of $300 million a year. Davis vetoed a budget that included a 4.9% teacher raise and a $1,000 bonus for all teachers in our district. Don Davis also vetoed a produce processing center in Ayden, costing us 200 jobs and an economic impact of $130 million a year. Don Davis has been in office too long. Karen Kozel will always vote for her constituents over political gain. Karen Kozel is for vocational education in public schools, teacher raises, and school choice. Karen Kozel supports law enforcement, gun rights, and continued community patrolling. Vote Karen Kozel for North Carolina Senate District 5.
I'm Karen Kozel, and I approve this message.
Paid for by the committee to elect Karen Kozel.
Powered by Clean Surface Technology, PPG introduces their newest innovation called Ultralast. It's an interior paint plus primer engineered for unmatched washability. Ultralast brings research and technology from PPG Automotive and Industrial Coatings divisions to create a super premium interior paint that's now available to you. Just visit your local PPG paint store in Greenville, Goldsboro, Wilmington, or New Bern. To help make your color choice easier, PPG Paints has a virtual room painter online where you can use pictures of of your house or sample rooms provided. Just visit ppgpaints.com and launch the visualizer. Whether your job involves interior, exterior, or protecting an uncommon surface, find out what professional painters and contractors already know. Your local PPG store is hands down the right place for paints, stains, and coatings. Plus, the friendly professionals at PPG are knowledgeable and willing to help. PPG Paint Stores, Greenville, Goldsboro, Wilmington, and New Bern.
Are you ready?
We were.
47 years you've done nothing. They understand.
All right. Were you?
I'm not going to answer the question. Why would you answer that question? You've
President,
been best.
It's hard to get any word in with this clown.
You just lost the left.
Well, he's just shush.
Say it. Law and order.
Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Jeff. You
Lay
didn't
down
want me
the
to
jaw.
ban China.
Will you shut up, man?
Socialist.
I am the Democratic Party.
2020.
Give me a break.
Because you know what? Nothing smart about you, Joe.
It's on with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
Welcome back in. It is News and Views. Taking a look at your weather forecast. Mostly clear tonight, a low around 51. Tomorrow, patchy fog early, otherwise sunny with a high near 76. Tomorrow night, more of the same. Clear, calm wind, low of 56. Wednesday, high near 80. And it's just a good-looking week. I love this weather. I love it when it is crisp at night. Got to put on a sweatshirt, perhaps, if you're going to go out for a walk. But in the daytime, it gets up around 70, 75. Perfect. So it was on this day 32 years ago. There was a vice presidential debate between Lloyd Bentsen and Dan Quayle. And Bentsen told Quayle, I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy. But Dan Quayle did get to be the vice president. Lloyd, not so much. I guess Lloyd has gone to his eternal reward, hasn't he? I would think.
I would think, because
he was old then.
Yeah,
that was 32 years ago.
Probably late 60s, early 70s back then.
You know what's interesting, though, is the Kennedy family actually came out and said, we don't know you. He got the last laugh. Just saying. So there are some new polls out. We're going to get to those. We'll probably mention some of those to Mercedes. But a sign of the times. WCTI is reporting after 155 years in Raleigh, the iconic Briggs hardware store. Have you been there?
I have. It's been a long time.
They're moving. They're going down to the Crystal Coast. Good for Emerald Isle. They'll be in the Emerald Plantation Shopping Center in Emerald Isle. The family-owned store is filled with North Carolina-made products. Tomato pies, blackberry jam, country ham. I got to go down there just for that. It also has holiday decorations, pet accessories, toys. The Briggs family has lived in Raleigh since the 1700s. And owner Evelyn Briggs Davis said it was a tough decision to move the store, but Davis said it was too unsafe to own a local business in downtown Raleigh once the riots started. Quote, and knowing that the police were told to stand down, I am no longer feeling safe. And because I went public with that statement, my landlord decided he would not renew my lease. Not knowing what to do, I packed it all up, came to Emerald Isle. I've been at Emerald Isle for the past 4 summers, and now I call it home. By the way, Briggs Hardware and General Store will be open 7 days a week starting at 10 o'clock. And again, you can go visit them in the Emerald Plantation Shopping Center. If you're listening down there in Emerald Isle, go over and see the folks. But I bring this up to say, hello, Mayor Marianne Baldwin, hello. You think you might want to protect your citizens? I mean, here you have got a tax-paying business saying, I'm out of here. I don't feel safe. Been there since the 1700s. They're out of there. I'm going to say the hardware store has been there since 1700.
I talked to someone this weekend that went through downtown Raleigh because I had been telling them about it, and they were just shocked at just how bad it was as far as the businesses being boarded up, businesses closed, and it's taken Raleigh an awful long time, basically my entire adult life until the last 15 years, and really 8 or 10 years especially. I mean, Raleigh didn't have much of a downtown until the last 12 or 15 years, and it really gotten really nice, and all the work that's been done and the investment's been made. It's just a shame that our governor, attorney general, and people in Raleigh just stood back and let it happen.
Big time. And it's sad. Some polls out. Daily Wire has got the reporting on this Zogby poll. On Saturday, the day after it was revealed that Trump had contracted the coronavirus, a new poll from John Zogby Strategies was taken. It showed something startling. Former Vice President Joe Biden was leading the president by only 2 points, 49% to 47%. Zogby's July 8th poll found Biden leading Trump by 7 points. The August 29th poll found Biden leading by 6 points. Now, this is a little different from a poll that Fox News was reporting on earlier today. That where is it? I thought I had it here, but they were reporting that that Biden had jumped in numbers. I think they had him up now by 14 points. Yeah. But I dug a little deeper. That was an NBC Wall Street Journal report poll, and that poll indicated that while Biden was up, it was the Zogby poll was of likely voters. The NBC Wall Street Journal poll that had Biden up, that was of registered voters. The other thing I found really curious is I dug into that poll. Usually they will tell you what percentage of the polling are Democrats, what percentage are Republicans, independents, libertarians, etc. This poll that had Biden up by 14 points, I couldn't find. If it was in there, I missed it. But I went from the beginning to the end, and I never saw it listed, the percentage of Democrats versus Republicans that were polled.
And one thing I noted, there was 2 or 3 polls that were kind of anomalies, I guess. 14, 11, and 9% Biden ahead, or 9 points ahead. But those sample sizes were about a third less of the ones that are 4 or 5%.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I question those.
Yeah. Going back to the Zogby poll, which surveyed 1,006 likely voters across the nation, stated that Biden was leading amongst Democrats 91 to 8%. And it's pretty much the reverse for Donald Trump. But again, what's interesting about this poll was done after the debate and after it was announced that Donald Trump had been admitted to the hospital for coronavirus. So we'll see where it goes. Interestingly, 4 years ago, Zogby had it closer than anybody else in the presidential poll. He pretty much got it right on. And what's also interesting is, according to this poll, this is closer than where it was 4 years ago. So, again, I don't want to live and die by the polling, because oftentimes, when it's not in our favor, I have a tendency to say, you can't trust it.
Well, I'm no poll expert, but the national election polls are always a little suspect, because it's not a popular vote election.
Right.
You need to look at state by state,
right.
And that's much more
meaningful. You need to look at the swing states, exactly. Another poll our listeners will find interesting, out of Gallup. Now, you look at the approval rating for the president, and then people say, wow, it's not that good. Well, it's pretty much where Obama was in this time in his presidential career. You look at where Congress is, it's a lot lower than the president, but maybe even lower still. A new poll finds that 60% of Americans don't trust the media to report the news fully, accurately, and fairly. It's not just Republicans that are having a hard time. Even Democrats are saying, maybe I can't trust these people. New Gallup poll published last week reveals that a majority of Americans do not trust the mass media to tell the full story. According to Gallup, only 40% of U.S. adults admit to having a great deal or a fair amount of trust and confidence in the media to report the news fully, accurately, and fairly. And 60% of adults say they have not very much trust or none at all. 60% of adults say they have not very much trust or none at all in the media. Of the 4 options, level of trust, a great deal, a fair amount, not very much, or none at all, a plurality of respondents, 33%, said none at all. That was the big... So of all the different choices, The number one choice of when these people were polled, 33%, none at all. The overall trust in the media, 40%, is the lowest it's been since 2016 when it dropped to 32%. Hasn't been above 50% since 2003. Broken down by political affiliation, the data is not encouraging for the media. Naturally, Republicans are unwilling to say they trust the TV, newspapers, radio to report the news accurately. This has been a decades-long fight for the GOP, and today only 10% of Republicans are willing to say they trust the media. Some 58% of GOPers told Gallup they have no trust in the media at all. And, you know, the thing about it is I don't know in this poll whether they differentiated. You know, if someone was to ask, do you trust the media, there's some media you're going to trust. Now, if you're going to say, do you trust the mainstream media, if you cited certain outlets, they probably are going to get a more accurate number. But if you're just going to use the word media, you know, I would think there's people that trust this show. There's people that trust Rush Limbaugh and some others, Sean Hannity. Not good news amongst them independents. Just over a third, 36% of voters of independents say they trust the media. Even the party seen as many Americans as in bed with liberal media, the Dems, 73% of Dems are willing to say that they trust the media. So what do you got, about 30% of Dems that don't trust the media. Interesting stuff. You know, the other thing that's interesting about this is the arrogance with which these media folks look at themselves. I mean, they look at themselves with as if they set the world in place, and they can do no wrong.
Yeah, and I'm amazed that you know, unless you're just willfully ignorant, and which you have to be, to listen to the mainstream media. I know they're smarter than that. They know better. They know better than what they're saying. They're smarter than that. This obviously slanted to you know what narrative they want to push. It's almost like they're you know, they're an arm of the Democratic Party.
561-8255. Let's go to Ernie. Hey, Ernie, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, but what I don't understand is I'm pushing 75 years of age. I'm a veteran. I have no criminal record. I've owned homes ever since I got out of the service. I've had landlines, cell phone lines. I have never been polled, ever.
That's curious.
Yeah, and I've never been called for jury duty either.
Are you? How are you registered to vote?
How will I vote?
No, how are you registered? You vote independent, libertarian, Democrat, Republican?
I've been independent for a long time, but I went total Republican this year.
I do know my partner here, Benny, is you're unaffiliated.
Unaffiliated,
yeah. And he gets called all the time. So if you want to get called, switch to unaffiliated.
I don't particularly want to be polled, but yeah. I don't understand it. It's like I don't exist to these people.
Perhaps
how many? The question is how many men and women out there are like me? Older people, people of all ages that have never been polled, ever.
Well, I'm an older person, I guess. I'm 66. I do get called, but I will say this too. I don't. Now, if my wife's home, she'll answer the landline. I don't answer the landline. So, and if it's a spam call, you know, if I get a call on my cell phone and I don't recognize the number, I don't answer it. So
I don't answer 800 numbers. I call them, but I never answer an 800 number. I never answer something that says unavailable or restricted.
Well, you know what you and I are both saying here is the fact that I think accurate polling is so much more difficult today because there was a time when everybody just had a landline and the phone rang, you dropped everything and answered the phone. I mean, it was like sacrosanct.
Tom, I lived through that period of time. I've never been without a landline until we gave it up, maybe 5-6 years ago. It just makes no sense anymore. But I just don't, I can't grasp the idea that I can't be the only person like myself. You know, tax-paying, law-abiding citizens, It's like we don't exist.
Yeah, I don't know if the fact that they have a record of whether or not were you career military?
No, sir. I served 4 years during the Vietnam era.
Okay. I was wondering if your career military, if that put a slant on whether or not you got called or not.
Ernie, the way you described yourself, are you familiar with Hank Williams Jr.?
I'm so old. I was familiar with Hank.
Okay. Well, the way you describe yourself, you're like you saw the dinosaur. You're a dinosaur.
I absolutely admit I'm a dinosaur. I absolutely admit that, but that does not explain why I've never been polled.
Yeah,
it's probably not having a landline. Probably.
Okay, but I had a landline until like 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I just don't. I just don't get it. I think there's a check mark somewhere beside my name with these people. Don't call this guy. You don't want to hear what he has to tell you.
You have the scarlet C on your chest. You're conservative, right?
You might want to look at that as a blessing. That you're not getting a lot of these calls. So.
My wife has been called. Just recently got called for jury duty. It's probably about the 5th time in her life.
Well, now that's curious because my wife does get called more for jury duty than I do. Now, it could be they say, oh, that Lamprecht character, he's that nut on the radio. We're not calling him.
Well, yeah, so you're semi-famous. I'm not. I'm just Ernie from Emerald, just a poor old electrician that's working beyond the years he should work.
Now, jury duty, women are more compassionate. That's just the facts. You talk to the attorneys, and they'd have a jury full of women if they had their choice.
There you go. Hey, Ernie. Don't feel bad. I mean, it's not, I like it when I'm not getting called.
I don't feel bad. I just am very curious.
Yeah.
And yes, I have no compassion for criminals. So maybe
there you go. Maybe that's why. Maybe you got a reputation. Thanks for the call, Ernie. 561-8255. If you want to join us. So we've been following this story. By the way, I don't know where Mercedes Schlapp is. She's supposed to call us at 5:20. I'm feeling very spurned. We'll see if we can get her on perhaps tomorrow. We'll see what the deal is. But we've been following the story with the State Board of Elections, and over the weekend, the other judge that we were talking to Tim Moore about, Judge James Dever, he issued a temporary restraining order this past Saturday blocking a proposal to remove witness signature requirements from absentee ballots. So Judge Osteen, he was the one back on August the 4th that issued a memorandum talking about how they needed to tweak a few things in their law. And then Josh Stein and the Dems on the Board of Elections, they just decided that they were going to totally rewrite the law. But Judge Osteen, while he said, hey, everybody's going to have to come back in, we're going to have another Kumbaya fest, he didn't issue a restraining order. But Judge Dever, who had a couple of cases in front of him, did come out and say, you know what, I'm going to issue a restraining order. And he did cite the Purcell doctrine, which was a 2006 case. We talked about this last week, where the Supreme Court came out, and I think it was a case out of Arizona, where they came out and they said, you cannot change the rules in the middle of the game, and you cannot change the election laws after the election has started. In fact, they said you can't change them anywhere near the election, from even if it's close to starting. Well, here we are in the middle of it. So Dever properly cited the Supreme Court ruling in Purcell. What's interesting, though, on the state level, and you've got two different venues here. You've got the state courts and the federal courts. The federal courts are taking precedent over the state courts. But Dever's order came less than a day after he heard parties in the federal lawsuits argue for nearly 3 hours at the federal courthouse in Raleigh. Lawyers for the election board had just left a hearing in the state lawsuit where they got a win from Superior Court Judge Brian Collins. Now, Collins approved the settlement that Josh Stein, Cooper, and the Dems all wanted. He approved the settlement that would remove the requirement for absentee ballots to be signed by a witness. Originally it was 2. They lowered it to 1. let County Elections Board count ballots left in unmanned boxes and extend the period for counting mail-in absentee ballots to 9 days after the election rather than the 3 set by state law. Now, the other thing that's interesting about this is this guy, Collins, he was the same guy that said he was overruled, but he was the guy that came out and said that the constitutional amendments that the people had voted on, voter photo ID was one of those. He came out and said, well, those need to be tossed because you had certain people that proposed the amendments that shouldn't have been elected because he felt like the districts were gerrymandered in an improper, illegal way. Now, he was overruled on that, but obviously he was showing some bias against Republicans in that matter. The good news is he has now been overruled by Judge Dever. Judge Dever has set, what was the date? I think it's like a 2-week stay order. Until October the 16th, unless the legal issues are settled before then. Judge Dever's restraining order remains in effect. So we'll see where that goes. But more good news that common sense is taking over when it comes to the State Board of Elections. I'm going to try to get, in fact, I tried to get Jim O'Neill, who's the Republican running for Attorney General. I haven't been able to get up with him yet, but we'll see if we can get him sometime later this week to get his take on this. Because this is total malfeasance by Josh Stein.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh Stein is supposed to be enforcing and protecting the laws of North Carolina. That's his job. As Attorney General, you do not make law. You take the law that the legislature has voted upon, passed, and signed into law by the governor. You take that and make sure it's enforced.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting over the weekend. Various Democratic elected people and just known Democrats throughout the state on social media and some print media sources, they're saying, wait a minute, I thought conservatives like the whole states' right issues and all that type of thing. You're letting a federal judge come in here and change things. No, we want a federal judge to come in here and protect our rights. When the General Assembly votes on something, the governor signs it by an overwhelming margin, and then in the middle of the election, the governor and the attorney general changes the rules. That's when we won't protect.
Exactly. We do not want the judge to come in and tell us what to do on the federal level. We want the judge to come in and tell other people that are trying to usurp state law, no, you can't do that. Get your fanny out of there. Anyway, if there was ever a reason, folks, to jot down this name Jim O'Neill, I'm giving Jim O'Neill a plug here because I think Jim O'Neill, he can't do any worse than Josh Stein. I don't know that much about Jim O'Neill. He's a Republican. He's running for Attorney General. Frankly, it'd be good to get him on just to find out some more about him. But he can't possibly be any worse than Josh Stein, who is doing the opposite of what his job calls him to do.
Yeah, we have not had an Attorney General represent the voters of North Carolina in a long time, just their own party.
Because prior to Josh Stein, we had
Lord Cooper.
Lord Cooper. We got to take a time out. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Now is the best time to plan your coastal getaway. Sail into summer at the new Beaufort Hotel and enjoy 15% off when you stay 3 or more consecutive nights. The newest vacation destination on the Crystal Coast is nestled on 10 acres and offers the privacy of a resort-style setting. The hotel overlooks the Rachel Carson Reserve, home to 30 wild horses. Discover the new Beaufort Hotel on the southern Outer Banks. For more information, visit BeaufortHotelNC.com or call 252-728-3000.
Our local police matter. That is why Tony Moore is running for North Carolina House. Tony's opponent, Candy Smith, has had several run-ins with law enforcement and court summons in multiple counties. Police officers filed a lawsuit against Candy Smith, alleging that she was initiating confrontations and interactions with GPD officers to file complaints against them. Our local law enforcement have a difficult job and deserve our support.
I am Tony Moore, and I approve this message.
Paid for by the committee to elect Tony Moore to NC House.
Tailgate season is approaching. And at Moore's Barbecue, we have the perfect packages to meet your needs. From our backyard barbecue pack to our family feast pack, we will make sure that your tailgate stands out and no one leaves hungry. Come on into any of our locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, or Morehead City and bring the whole family. There's more than enough great food for everyone.
Cross and Crown Christian Store and Printing Services in Ayden is your source for inspirational books, Bibles, children's material, greeting cards, church supplies, gifts for all occasions, and they have Bible imprinting on site. But Cross and Crown Christian Store and Printing Services is more than just a bookstore. They are also your destination for custom printing of all kinds, including programs, banners, menus, checks and banking products, invitations, business cards and stationery, promotional products, mailing services, and so much more. Cross and Crown Christian Store and Printing Services is located at 3928 Lee Street in Ayden. Open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5:30. You can also give them a call at 252-746-6128. That's 746-6128. Visit their Facebook page or go online at mycrossandcrown.com for Cross and Crown Christian Store and Printing Services in Ayden.
With rates being historically low, now is the best time to buy or refinance your home. This is Talbot Green with Angel Oak Home Loans. Now is the time to take advantage of the opportunity to buy more home or refinance your current mortgage. The combination of our local team's experience and Angel Oak's wide offerings of products from standard conventional, government, and portfolio loans has something for most financial situations. For more information, call Talbot Green, Joanne Weir, or Wanda Hager at 751-2060.
NMLS 1719250 and 685842. Equal housing lender.
Welcome back to News and Views.
He is a genius.
He's all powerful.
He brought a kind of heat.
He could be the best. Whatever.
Of course, the best part you're invited to is to join in on the fun with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
5618255. White House physician Sean Connolly said the president may not be entirely out of the woods yet in his fight against coronavirus, but said the clinical status supports his discharge from the hospital and a safe return to the White House. During a news briefing at Walter Reed Monday, Connolly said that the president would be discharged Monday evening. We've heard that 6:30 is the time he'll be leaving, right in time for the national news, probably live coverage on Fox. The president may not entirely be out of the woods yet, he said, but that is his clinical status supports a safe return home. Well, he will be surrounded by medical staff 24/7. Connolly added the president met most of his discharge requirements on Sunday afternoon. We try to get patients out of the hospital as quickly as possible, he said. There's nothing to be done here that we can't do at home. We all remain cautiously optimistic, on guard, because we're in a bit of an uncharted territory when it comes to a patient who received the therapies he has received. You know, stop and think about it. The president, obviously he's not the first person that has taken these drugs, but in a sense, he's sort of a guinea pig. I mean, we're looking at this guy and saying, okay, where everyone is hoping and praying for a good response and that he's, comes out healthy and strong. Another member of the president's medical team said that his heart rate as of Monday was measured at 68 beats per minute and that he had a 97% blood oxygen level, and normal oxygen reading is between 95 and 100. He's right there in the middle. Connolly also told reporters Monday that the president has not been on fever-reducing medicine for over 72 hours. The medical team also says the president does not have any respiratory complaints and will receive his fourth round of remdesivir before he departs Walter Reed Monday evening. So good but cautious news. Good news but cautious news. President Trump also said that today, so he's still putting out campaign promises, he vowed to continue lowering taxes if he defeats Joe Biden on November the 3rd. He tweeted this from the hospital this morning. Biggest tax cut ever and another one coming. Vote, Trump wrote in a series of tweets from Walter Reed. If you want a massive tax increase, the biggest in the history of our country, and one that will shut our economy and jobs down, vote Democrat. He is absolutely right on that. And listen,
That's true.
Yeah, and Joe Biden has admitted it. I mean, he gleefully admits.
Absolutely.
You're going to see your taxes go up. I mean, if you're going to, and as we talked about last week, he supports the Green New Deal.
Yeah, it looks like last week in the debate, there have been more substantive questions about that than what it was. And of course, people can make the argument, well, Trump interrupted, Biden interrupted, that type of thing. But just a line of questioning from Chris Wallace, not necessarily against Biden, but against Trump. I mean, it really set it up for disaster not to really talk a lot of things of any substance. But and to me, it let Joe Biden off the hook, because when he starts talking the details of his plans, number one, most Americans really won't like him if they hear him, and number two,
it's certainly not very good.
Joe can't sell him either, and he can't keep up with him, really.
Yeah, that was his. That's the biggest complaint the conservatives have about what the president did, is give Joe enough rope to hang himself. We've got to take another time out. When we get back, interesting report by none other than NBC News on Sweden's coronavirus and their recovery. I'll have that when we get back. Stay with us.
This is Representative Keith Kidwell. Governor Roy Cooper closed our churches, and there was nothing we could do about it because we didn't have enough Republicans to stop him. That's why I'm asking you to support Perrin Jones for North Carolina House. I need strong conservatives like Perrin Jones in Raleigh to cut more taxes, fight leftist regulations, defend our gun rights, and stand up for our conservative values. Perrin Jones is just part of President Trump's Republican team fighting socialist Democrats. Everything is on the ballot this year, including 3 of 7 state Supreme Court seats. George Soros and the radical left want total control of our state Supreme Court. It's up to you to stop him by voting Republican for president, U.S. Senator, governor, state Supreme Court, right down the line, including Perrin Jones for North Carolina House. This is Representative Keith Kidwell. It's all on the line in 2020. Register, get out and vote. Vote Republican. Paid for by the Elect Kidwell Committee. KidwellForNCHouse.com.
For more than 85 years, families in and surrounding Pitt County have trusted Wilkerson Funeral Home and the Wilkerson family to serve them when they have experienced the loss of a loved one.
With the addition of Farmer Funeral Service in Ayden, we now have 3 traditional funeral homes, each with their own chapel, serving all faiths. We also recently introduced Winterville Cremation and Funeral Services, a new concept created to better serve families seeking a simpler and less costly funeral.
From the combination of our successful pre-need program, our multi-garden cemetery featuring traditional burial, mausoleums, niches, and a new open-air chapel, the Wilkerson family continues to be innovative and the trusted choice in funeral care. Let us introduce you to the growing Wilkerson family of companies. Chances are we may have already touched your family. If so, we thank you. If not, you can count on and trust us to serve your family with the same dignified and compassionate care that we have been known for since 1932.
To learn more, visit wilkersonfuneralhome.com.
I'm Sandy Smith, candidate for Congress, and I proudly approve this message.
Babies are precious and should have the opportunity to live the American dream and find out what God has in store for them. Abortion mills in America kill 850,000 babies a year. It is time to end this evil practice of shedding innocent blood through abortion. That is why it is time to replace anti-life G.K. Butterfield. He voted to fund the killing of unborn babies time and time again. G.K. Butterfield took endorsements from extreme pro-abortion groups, NARAL and Planned Parenthood. G.K. Butterfield voted to allow abortions after 20 weeks when an unborn baby can feel pain, and voted against declaring an unborn baby a person. Abortion is a barbaric practice. Take a stand for life this election. Vote against G.K. Butterfield. Paid for by Sandy Smith for Congress. SandySmithNC.com.
He's washed his hands so many times he can now see the answers to his tests from high school.
Those aren't the right answers.
And you never know what to expect with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
I want you to know I rarely put the answers to the test on my... Rarely. I actually did. I remember doing it once. I think I got away with it.
What are we talking about?
In my former life, yeah. Well, you know, Joe. NBC News is reporting on what's going over in Sweden. You know, basically over in Sweden, the only thing they have locked down is large gatherings. That's the only restriction they've had. You go over there and no masks, People are gathering for school. People are gathering for getting together at restaurants. And initially they had some deaths. They also had to have some restrictions at nursing homes. But while the rest of the world is experiencing a second wave, especially in Europe, over in Sweden, herd immunity, I'm not sure, but NBC News, of all places, is reporting on how well Sweden is doing. They even posed the question, pandemic roadmap for the United States. The guy that reported on, a guy named Neely, came out and said, I've gone out and interviewed a bunch of folks, and they said it's working out well for us. I feel safer. He interviewed Americans living over there and saying, I feel safer here than I would in America when it comes to the coronavirus. One guy, an American who owns a deli over there, he said, I definitely feel safer here. I'm kind of proud of the way we handled it. But no face masks. So you go to the train station, no masks. In fact, the government doesn't recommend them. And that's the other thing that was interesting. They're saying that the doctors and the government officials are of one accord over in Sweden. And when it comes to face masks, they're in agreement that we're not gonna force people to do that. And they haven't suffered the economic downturn that the rest of the world has. They've just said, I guess we're going to live with herd immunity and see where where everything falls into place, and it sounds like it's falling into place.
And Joe Biden's clearly said that he would implement a national mask mandate. So
yeah, and he'd shut it down again. He'd shut it down again. I don't think so. It's going to be interesting if Donald Trump recovers as well as we hope he does. This could be a positive in his corner of the campaign. Hey, listen, we'll see if we can get Mercedes Schlapp on tomorrow. Don't know what happened to her. We'll find out. And we'll see you tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Have a good night. Bye-bye, everybody.
How important is your brain? Most of us don't use our brains to think much about ourselves.